Welcome back to the Bible Stories as we continue to take you through a journey on the Bible, making it simple, making it come to life for each one of us, for anyone in any stage of their lives. And so, as we've been going through the story, we're now in the book of Genesis, which is the first book, in the 12th chapter of this book, and we've encountered this man called Abraham, who's a rather interesting person. And last time we just saw how he had this crazy kind of belief and faith that led him to do things that were illogical. But today's story is one of those that, at least for me, is kind of encouraging, because there are these amazing characters in the Bible who just seem like they are not human, like they're not normal, because they are so perfect in their work with God. But today you see that even someone amazing like him, we can still learn and relate from their situation and their mistakes. So Abraham has left his home, he's gone towards Canaan. He's living like a wanderer, settling from place to place like a nomad, moving around. But then where he is within the general land of Canaan, there's a famine. And so he has to leave because his family and all his people and his cattle are going to starve. And the one place where there is still food is Egypt. I guess because Egypt used to farm along the Nile, and so farming would not affect them as much. And so he goes. But as he's about to enter this land, something rather interesting happens. Abraham is hit by fear, and he's like, okay, I know my wife is one of the most beautiful women who's ever existed. So if I enter Egypt with her and people see her, they're going to want to do anything they can to have this woman, and so they'll kill me so they can get to her. Now, clearly the power and just the brutality of the Egyptians was something that was known to cause Abraham such fear. So Abraham, in this situation, allows fear to grip him, and it's right there in that instance in the story is a great opportunity for you and I to learn something, because sometimes we think sin comes from taking ourselves just to a place that is surrounded and full of sin. But this guy, just in his travels with his beautiful wife, who's a blessing from God to him, gets an opportunity to sin because of the fear that grips him. And for me, that's a first lesson in this story. For you and I to just always remain vigilant, because from anywhere, the temptations and the opportunities to sin can come. Like for real, you could be walking around in your home, you could just be interacting with your family. Opportunities to sin don't need to be in sinful environments for them to come about. And that's why it's need for us to always remain vigilant and drowned in God's word, so that when those opportunities come, God is able to help us stand. So anyway, back to Abraham's story. But at this point, his name was actually not Abraham, it was Abram, but we'll get to when that name changed later in life. So Abram enters Egypt, and he tells his wife, look, the way I look at this scenario, there are only two options. And in both options, these Egyptians will live with you as their. So option one is they kill me and they take you. Option two is we tell them I'm your brother, and so they spare me because they want the sister of this brother, and they'll still take you, but at least we'll both be alive. And Sarah agrees to lie with Abraham. And there you see how that situation of fear led to temptation to sin, and then led them to actually sin by lying. And it's so interesting how a guy who had such immense faith in God just a bit earlier in his story, left everything he had to follow God, reaches this point and fear grips him, and God moves out of his mind, moves out of the picture in the situation in his life, and he comes up with what is a logical human plan. And so many times this is what you and I fall into, where situations, difficulties, challenges come our way, and so we respond in what is a human strategy, a human plan, and it's logical by all means. You look at Abraham and it's like, there's no way out. I can't leave Egypt, I'll starve to death. I enter Egypt, they either kill me. The only logical best case scenario is I say I'm the brother. It's called what many people call making a lemonade out of the lemons that life gives you. But in that instance, Abraham had an opportunity. He had an opportunity to allow God into his space. He had an opportunity to allow God to guide him. He had an opportunity to ask God, okay, what do I do? This looks impossible, but you're the one who earlier promised me that Canaan would be mine. And so when you and I look at this story in hindsight, it's obvious that no matter what happened, Abraham would not die, because he had been told his descendants would inherit it. He didn't have a son yet. So clearly God still had a big plan for him, but Abraham can't see that. And so he makes his own plan out of desperation rather than inviting God into that situation. And I don't know how many times you and I look at our difficult situations in life and we choose to make our own plans, and they're logical, they make sense to everyone around us. we don't invite God in, and God may have had a better plan. And sometimes those man-made plans are what lead us to sin. And so he enters Egypt, and imagine his plan kind of works. He's even given dowry for his wife's sister. And then God doesn't like his situation, because this was not what God's plan was. And so God sends a plague to come to Pharaoh's household. And this plague is so bad that Pharaoh realizes, this man must have played me, and this is his wife, because his God must be acting out on this situation. And he kicks Abraham and his whole household out. For those of you who are Bible scholars, just on a side note, I think it's rather interesting how a famine leads Abraham and then later the Israelites into Egypt, and then a plague frees Abraham from Egypt, and later the Israelites will be freed by a plague from Egypt. We'll get to that story later in our Bible stories. But for me, it's just a reminder for you and I today. One, sin can come anywhere. We need to be so vigilant and ready not to allow it to creep in on us, and be so ready, surrounded in God's word, to fight it when that temptation comes in any situation we may be in. And then two, is just to realize that we need to constantly invite God into a situation. Even those that seem like there could be a logical human strategy around it, we need to always invite God in and ask him, okay, what's your wise solution? What would you guide me to do? But three, that even when we fail and we fall, Abraham's story is a reminder that God will always pick you up. God came all the way to Egypt, sent plagues to free his man out of that situation that he had put himself in. God is faithful, and he will pick you up even when we fall. Till next time, catch you later.